Now to the cackling witch herself, Joy Behar from The View, whose jealousy is something to behold.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Here is Joy objectifying the White House press secretary, saying she only has the job because she's hot.
Joy Behar's name has long been synonymous with candid, often contentious debate. From heated political showdowns to comedic jabs aimed at celebrity guests, she built her brand on telling it like it is, even if it ruffled feathers. Her loyal fans praised her for refusing to mince words, arguing that her boldness brought much-needed energy to daytime talk. Her critics, however, accused her of crossing the line, claiming she used sharp humor to disguise hostility. Still, despite the flare-ups, ABC seemed more than happy to keep her on board. Drama and conflict have always drawn in viewers, and Joy consistently delivered the fiery exchanges and blunt sound bites that kept The View in the headlines. Whether she was taking on big-name politicians or sparring with fellow co-hosts, Joy had a knack for stirring public opinion, which often translated into ratings success. Behind the scenes, insiders described her as equal parts clever and combative, with no shortage of strong opinions. Producers reportedly navigated around her sharp edges and found ways to amplify her voice, knowing controversy fuels conversations on social media. It's a strategy that had worked, until a single remark put her at odds with the very network that once championed her candor. The question is, what made this incident different from all the others? The tipping point arrived when Joy made a pointed comment about Karoline Leavitt, a young press secretary with ties to Donald Trump. During one of The View's politically charged discussions, Joy offhandedly suggested that Karoline was chosen less for her competence and more for her physical appearance. As if reading from a script designed to outrage, Joy used the kind of dismissive language she'd often criticized in others, calling into question not just Karoline's qualifications, but also her legitimacy in the political arena. It didn't take long for viewers to register their shock. The studio audience that day responded with a collective gasp, and social media erupted with condemnation from across the political spectrum. Those who admired Joy for her feminist stance felt betrayed. Here she was, reducing another woman to her looks, contradicting her long-standing advocacy for women's rights. The backlash spread like wildfire. Critics blasted Joy for hypocrisy, pointing out that she had often slammed political figures who made sexist or objectifying remarks. Her co-hosts looked visibly uncomfortable, either trying to deflect or pass the conversation along without fueling the flames. Meanwhile, hashtags like #CancelJoyBehar dominated Twitter, with many users demanding consequences. What made the situation more combustible was the fact that Joy, at least initially, seemed unfazed by the criticism. Rather than apologize or clarify, she brushed off concerns as overblown, which only made people angrier. The situation escalated when Karoline Leavitt decided to take legal action, claiming Joy's remarks amounted to defamation. She argued that Joy's public statements did more than just insult her looks or question her competence. They could tarnish her professional reputation and undermine her credibility in the eyes of potential employers, colleagues, and political figures. Legal experts weighed in, noting that defamation suits against talk show personalities can be tricky, especially when the figure in question has a reputation for hyperbole. But in Karoline's case, it seemed she was ready to test the limits of what is permissible under free speech. The lawsuit alleged Joy made her comments with malicious intent, aiming to paint Karoline as nothing more than a pretty face with no real political expertise. For ABC, the lawsuit struck at the heart of a long-standing dilemma: how to protect a star known for edgy commentary without getting embroiled in a damaging legal fight. As soon as the network got wind of Karoline's legal filing, internal discussions turned frantic. The risk wasn't just a potential financial payout. It was also about the network's reputation. The last thing ABC wanted was to be seen as endorsing defamatory statements, especially when they themselves have enforced standards against similarly harmful remarks from past hosts. By this point, chaos reigned behind closed doors. Network executives scrambled to figure out a viable strategy, knowing a defamation lawsuit wouldn't simply vanish. Some insiders, speaking anonymously, revealed that multiple emergency meetings took place. ABC's legal team was heavily involved, as they tried to assess how serious the lawsuit could become if Karoline pressed forward aggressively. According to whispers from the production floor, opinions were split. Some staffers insisted Joy had crossed an unforgivable line by attacking a woman's credibility on such a superficial basis, especially after touting herself as a staunch feminist for years. Others defended Joy, arguing that the show thrives on provocative opinions and that her off-the-cuff remark, while harsh, had been blown out of proportion. Executives faced a fork in the road. They could stand by Joy, risking deeper entanglement in a high-profile legal fight that might hurt the network's brand. Or they could cut ties with her and attempt to salvage their reputation, gambling that viewer loyalty to The View would outlast any short-term backlash. Complicating matters further was Joy's own reaction. Sources say she was initially unwilling to apologize publicly, believing that doing so would be an admission of guilt. This stubbornness only heightened the tension, with some network higher-ups pushing for a swift resolution to protect ABC from further negative publicity. After days of speculation and a media frenzy that refused to die down, an official announcement came from ABC. Joy Behar was leaving The View. The statement was notably terse. It vaguely mentioned that Joy had decided to step away, without clarifying whether the departure was permanent or what events spurred it. That brief acknowledgement fueled even more speculation, with many suspecting her exit was anything but voluntary. Viewers were caught off guard, uncertain whether they should celebrate or mourn her absence. On social media, some hailed the decision, saying it was long overdue for Joy's words to carry real consequences. They framed it as a victory against hypocrisy, proof that no one, not even a beloved daytime fixture, should get a free pass when it comes to potentially defamatory statements. Others were furious, calling it yet another casualty of so-called cancel culture. They felt Joy's exit was a knee-jerk reaction by a network more interested in preserving its image than letting its co-hosts speak freely. Amid the clashing perspectives, ABC moved swiftly to distance itself from the legal fallout. While the network has not publicly confirmed any settlement offers or behind-the-scenes deals, rumor has it that they aimed to placate Karoline Leavitt in hopes of making the lawsuit fade away. Whether that involves a monetary settlement, a public apology, or other terms remains shrouded in secrecy. Meanwhile, Joy's own silence has been deafening, prompting even more speculation about her next move. Without Joy in her usual seat, the show's dynamic shifted in ways no one predicted. Ratings initially surged due to the curiosity factor. People tuned in to see how the other co-hosts would address her departure, or if they'd address it at all. For a while, the other panelists avoided lengthy discussions about Joy, focusing instead on lighter topics or carefully curated political debates that wouldn't spark further controversies. However, as the news cycle moved on, some viewers began questioning whether The View lost its edge. Joy, despite all her missteps, had injected a certain energy into the show. Her unpredictability, the sense that anything could happen when she spoke, kept audiences glued to their screens. In her absence, critics argued, the show felt tame. Fans who once loved Joy's blunt style, warts and all, lamented what they saw as a watered-down version of a formerly daring program. ABC now faces a key decision: fill her seat with another big personality or steer away from a confrontational format. The gamble is clear. Bringing in a similar type of host might reignite controversy, but could also restore those spiky debates that built The View's identity. On the other hand, a less polarizing figure might keep the show out of headlines, for better or worse. Since her exit, Joy Behar has stayed conspicuously quiet, leaving fans and detractors alike to wonder about her future. Some insiders speculate she might resurface on another platform, perhaps a podcast or a streaming channel, where she could speak freely without network constraints. Others think she'll go the route of a public statement, one designed to regain control of the narrative, possibly explaining her side of the story in a way that could sway public opinion back in her favor. It's also possible she will take a measured step back from the spotlight, at least for a while. After all, a defamation lawsuit, a jolt to her reputation, and a forced exit from a show she helped shape for years isn't an easy trifecta to bounce back from. Public figures often wait until the legal dust settles before returning to the public sphere with a fresh approach or a redemption arc. For now, the rumor mill churns with theories. Some claim Joy is merely biding her time, waiting for the right moment to break her silence. Others say she's privately fuming over what she considers a betrayal by ABC, and she may launch her own legal countermeasures, or at least use any platform she gets to set the record straight. Wherever she lands, the saga of her departure promises to leave an imprint on how networks balance star power with the potential risks of inflammatory remarks. Joy Behar's abrupt exit from The View is more than just a headline-grabbing TV shakeup. It's a cautionary tale about the precarious line between candid commentary and harmful speech, and how quickly networks can pivot when legal and public relations issues arise. While her critics celebrate what they see as overdue accountability, her supporters cry foul at what they believe is a capitulation to online outrage. Whichever camp you fall into, her story underscores the widening scrutiny on media personalities, especially those who wield their opinions like swords. As for The View, the show marches on, its future uncertain but undeniably changed. Will the series stick to its tradition of blunt talk and political debates, or will it soften its tone to avoid another scandal? The answer remains unclear, but one truth stands out. Joy Behar, in leaving, has set a precedent. Her departure raises challenging questions about free expression, legal accountability, and whether a single moment of verbal overreach can undo decades of a media career. What do you think? Was this a necessary step toward holding influential voices accountable, or a knee-jerk response to online fury? And what happens now to a show that built its brand on outspoken personalities? The conversation isn't over, and neither is Joy's story. In the volatile world of daytime television, controversies tend to resurface when you least expect them. Keep watching and keep questioning, because the final chapter of this media firestorm has yet to be written.